Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. So the final day of Kaldheim spoiler season is finally upon us. We've seen a ton of exciting spoilers from Kaldheim, including Furia, Judge of Valor. So if you want to see my quick take on the Unholy Reanimation Angel, make sure you check that out. But with that episode, and with this one, and pretty much with all the other Kaldheim episodes, a quick spoiler warning. If you don't want to see any Kaldheim spoilers, maybe go catch up on Attack on Titan. Season 4 Episode 6 just came out and it's been fantastic. But since this isn't an anime channel, let's jump into these Kaldheim spoilers. So in Kaldheim, we've got what might be the best uncommon land cycle that we've ever seen. Or at the very least, one of the most unique ones that we've seen. These lands have a lot of cool effects and some of them can be really powerful in the right deck. There's one of each 2-color pairing, and the last one was actually just spoiled this morning, which is why you're seeing this episode now. So let's tackle each of these lands one at a time and talk about a potential commander that could use that land. So the Dimir land for this cycle is Port of Karfell. Like all the other lands in this cycle, Port of Karfell enters the battlefield tapped. And because all the other lands do that, I probably won't repeat this on the other lands. Though keep in mind that I do realize that they do come into play tapped. Anyways, Port of Karfell taps for a blue and it has pay 3 blue, black, tap, sacrifice Port of Karfell, mill 4 cards, and return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So with all these lands, there is that price that your land is a bit slower. It comes into play tapped and it only taps for 1 color. But by paying a specific cost and tapping and sacrificing it, you get a big effect. And this one can be really huge. A land that can reanimate a creature is a really big effect. On top of that, it gives us access to more cards by milling us first. Now, there are actually probably a good amount of commanders out there that could really use this land. The first one that came to mind, though, was Gyruda. Gyruda has, when it enters the battlefield, each player mills 4, then you put a creature card with an even converted mana cost from among those cards onto the battlefield under your control. So a very similar effect, but this land is just for you. Which is fine, because in a lot of Gyruda decks, you're just looking to clone Gyruda and then do it again and again and again and again. So you crack your land, you reanimate a clone, and you're good to go. Next up, though, let's move on to the Simic land with Littjara Mirror Lake. Again, though, I am saying the guild that these are associated with, that's just because of their activation cost. Each of these lands only taps for 1 color, and this one taps for a blue. It also has pay 2 green, blue, and tap and sacrifice it to create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except it enters the battlefield with additional +1/+1 counter on it. Activates ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. So like Mirpool, this is a land that can clone a creature. Now this is only a creature that we control, but that creature does come into play with an extra +1/+1 counter on it. Now there's a good amount of decks that might want this effect. This could be a great card in a +1/+1 counters build with some high impact creatures. But the first commander that came to mind for me was Rollesk Apex Hybrid. It has, when it enters the battlefield, put 2 +1/+1 counters on another target creature you control. And when Rollesk dies, you proliferate, then proliferate again. So you can clone something else, but usually in this kind of a deck, you're just gonna clone Rollesk. That clone dies and you proliferate twice. And for this kind of a deck, having a lane that can help you proliferate twice can be a huge effect. Next up, let's move on to Boros with Axgard Armory. This land's going to tap for a white, and it has pay 1 red, white, tap and sacrifice it to search your library for an aura card and or an equipment card, reveal them, and put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. So this is a double tutor on a land. And there are plenty of powerful equipment and auras in the right deck that you're going to want to go get. For example, for equipment, it might be one of the swords, or lightning greaves, or Darksteel Plate. And for the auras, maybe it's one like Shielded by Faith, or if you're really spicy, Eldrazi Conscription. And for example, if you're in a Firesong and Sunspeaker deck, you might use this to tutor up your Sunforger, which again can help you tutor up even more things. Again, a double tutor that comes on a land is a very powerful thing. But now it's time for us to move on to Azorius with Gates of Isfel. Gates of Isfel is also going to tap for a white, and it has pay 2 white, blue, tap and sacrifice it. You gain 2 life and draw 2 cards. This one I feel like is less specific than the other lands that we've seen so far, and it's more just generically good. Drawing cards in Commander is never a bad thing, and gaining life is a nice little bonus. So if you're looking for a little extra help and another way to draw some cards, this might be a consideration for a lot of decks. But decks with life gain or draw synergies are probably more likely to include this card. So a commander like Aloro that's got a lot of life gain synergies might want to consider this one, because not only will you draw 2 and gain 2 life, but you're also going to have other benefits based on that life that you gained. But now let's move on to Selesnya with Bredegard Stronghold. This is one of the 2 lands that taps for a green, and it has pay green, white, white, tap, and sacrifice it. Put a ++1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures you control. They gain vigilance and lifelink until end of turn. Activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. So this land can actually help in a decent amount of ways. Maybe you've got a Voltron commander that you'd like to get slightly bigger and give vigilance and lifelink for a turn. Or this can be especially effective in ++1 counters builds that can make the most out of those counters. For example, a commander that might want this land is Hamza Guardian Ration. Hamza costs 1 less to cast for each creature we control with a ++1 counter on it, and creature spells we cast cost 1 less to cast for each creature we control with a ++1 counter on it. So by using this land to get a counter on 2 creatures, we can reduce the cost of our commander as well as the other creature spells that we're going to cast. So although we're sacrificing a land, we're going to be saving on mana in the long run. Next up, let's move on to the Golgari lane, which is the other one that taps for a green. By paying 2 black, black, green, and tapping and sacrificing it, up to 1 target creature you don't control gets -2/-2 until end of turn. Then we create 2 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens. Activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. So first up, this lane can help take out a creature, whether that's a small creature or a bigger one that's already been dealt some damage. On top of that, it gives us 2 tokens, which can be very effective in the right deck. And a commander that can really make use out of those elves is Lathril, Blade of the Elves. When she deals combat damage to a player, you create that many 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens, and you can tap her and tap 10 untapped elves you control. Each opponent loses 10 life, and you gain 10 life. So although she can make her own elves, it's never a bad idea to have some other ways to help. The amount of elves that you have to tap is a lot, but it's a huge payoff. So having a land that can help you make even more elves is probably a good idea. But now it's time for us to move on to the Orzhov land with Great Hall of Starnheim. This is one of the 2 lands that's going to tap for a black. It also has pay white, white, black, tap and sacrifice it, and a creature you control. Create a 4/4 white angel warrior creature token with flying and vigilance. Activates ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. So this is a one-time sacrifice effect on a land that also gives us a 4/4 angel with flying and vigilance. A 4/4 with flying and vigilance is not bad in a game of Commander, and if we're trading up from a 1/1 or something like that, that can be pretty good. A land like this, though, can be especially effective in decks that actually want to sacrifice creatures. So an aristocrat-style deck like Teysa might want this one. Teysa Karlov has if a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers additional time. Oh, and also, creature tokens you control have vigilance and lifelink. So although our angel already has vigilance, she's going to get lifelink, and that's never a bad thing. The more important part, though, is by sacrificing a creature, we're getting double death triggers. But now let's move on to the Rakdos lane, which is the other lane that taps for a black with Immersturm Skullcairn. It has pay 1 black, red, red, tap and sacrifice it. It deals 3 damage to target player. That player discards a card. Activates ability only anytime you cast a sorcery. So this land can basically lightning bolt a player and then make them discard. It can be a good way to disrupt an opponent or to finish off them if they're low. So this land might fit into a discard deck such as Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger. When Kroxa enters the battlefield or attacks, each opponent discards a card. Then each opponent who didn't discard a non-land card this way loses 3 life. Though Kroxa has to be sacrificed the first time, we keep escaping it to get it back. So this deck can be really good at punishing opponents, forcing them to discard, and making them lose life. But now let's move on to the Izzet land with Surtland Frostfire, and this is one of the 2 that taps for a red. It has pay 2 blue, blue, red, tap and sacrifice it, scry 2, Surtland Frostfire deals 2 damage to each creature, activates ability only anytime you cast a sorcery. So scrying isn't card advantage, but it is card selection. So that can either help us set the top of our library or ensure that we don't get a dead draw. And 2 damage to each creature is like a mini board wipe. So if you're playing against your friend's token deck, have fun. A commander that might want this is one that really cares about the top of their library, like Melek Izzet Paragon. Basically, Melek lets you cast instant sorcery spells off the top of your library, and when you do, you copy them. So being able to get rid of a land on top or to set the top with something else can be very important. And finally, the last land of this cycle is the Gruul land with Not Vold Slumbermound. It taps for red and it has pay 3 red, green, green, tap and sacrifice it, destroy target land, create a 4/4 green troll warrior creature token with trample. If your friend's got a Gaia's Cradle in play, you're gonna want to get rid of that. Or even the newer land, the World Tree, yeah, you're gonna want to deal with that before they get all their gods out. And on top of that, you get a 4/4 with trample, and that's not a bad thing. A commander that might want this land is Crush the Blood Rated. It has whenever another creature is put into a graveyard from play, you may put X+1 counters on Crush the Blood Rated, where X is that creature's power. So that troll can help you for a bit, and then when it dies, it's gonna pump your commander. And with that, the show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one.